Hi, everyone. Happy Bike Month to everyone. I hope you and your families and friends are doing well and staying safe in this trying time. We're really thankful for our opportunity to keep working with you and riding through this together, even if from our homes and online. But thanks so much for joining us today for this. We're usually at a typical National Bike Summit, we would be together at the annual awards dinner in Washington, D.C. And this is the time of year that we get to celebrate and recognize the incredible people and organizations in our movement, working to make bicycling safe, comfortable, and accessible to all. And these people and organizations are the ones that take this bold action, lead on equity, inclusion, and inspire us to do better. And since we took our summit online this year, we thought we would take our awards online too, and not just in one night, but in four. Oh, and I didn't say it. My name is Bill Nesper. I'm the executive director of the League of American Bicyclists, and I'm really happy to be here with you. So for today and for the next 3 Thursday afternoons this month, we will be doing our best to recognize these award winners together in these virtual 2020 Advocacy and Education Award ceremonies. Well, we know it's a bit difficult in these settings. You know, some systems are better than others. This is GoToWebinar. It's not the easiest place to fully express your gratitude, but we're going to try to do our best. All the participants are muted right now, but I will enable you to unmute yourself so that awardees can really hear your cheers and applause a couple times. We'd really like them, because they can't see you, to hear you. And each awardee will have remarks, and we'll be taking a few questions from you. So please use that questions box. Type up your questions sooner rather than later would be great, and so we can get to your questions. And Allison, the director of education from the league, is gonna help us ask those questions to our awardees. So this first award is a brand new addition for us, and I'd just like to start off by giving a big thanks to the league board member Jerry Zalata, who and the members of the equity committee for their work to improve the league's equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts, and to launch this new award. It was really them who pushed us to have this award named after Kittie Knox. And for those of you who don't know, Kittie Knox was born in 1874 and was a member of both the Riverside Cycling Club in Boston and the League of American Wheelmen. Her attendance in the league's at the league's annual meeting in 1895 lit a fire that sparked newspaper headlines from coast to coast, from New York, from the New York Times to the San Francisco Chronicle. Even though she was only 21 years old at the time, this biracial seamstress and cycling enthusiast dared to challenge the new ban, the league's new ban on African American members that was instituted the year before. Kittie Knox pushed against exclusion and demanded that her right to ride with the league be upheld. Sadly, the ban continued, and it took too long for the league to recognize and take responsibility for our history. 125 years later, Kittie Knox is not only an exemplar, she reminds us through her legacy that there's still so much work to be done in thinking bigger about who we serve and in building a bicycle-friendly America for everyone. The league created this award to recognize and acknowledge people and organizations who embody Kittie's determination. This award, this first award that we're going to give out tonight, recognizes champions of equity, diversity, and inclusion in the bicycling movement, and goes to an individual or group that has led in making bicycling more inclusive and representative, and worked to remove barriers to participation by underserved and underrepresented people in their communities, state, or country. This first Kittie Knox Award, I'm very, very happy to say, goes to Aisha McGowan. Aisha has been a leader in the cycling world, speaking truth to power about the need for building a more inclusive, representative, and equitable bike community. At the same time, she's been racing at the highest levels of the sport, recently signed a pro contract, becoming the first African-American female pro cyclist. In nominating Aisha for this award, people noted that she is an inspiration to all of us who want bicycling to become more accessible to people in our communities, and is a forceful voice for more representation of Black people and experiences in cycling. all of us in the bicycling advocacy movement thank you, Aisha, for everything you've done and where you're helping us go. You've encouraged the bike community to be honest about our privilege and representative in our work, and your perseverance and leadership on this ride we're taking together is moving us closer to being a truly bicycle-friendly America for everyone. So if everyone would please join me, I'm going to unmute you, and please join me in showing your appreciation for Aisha McGowan.
Yay!
Awesome.
Hooray.
That is
Awesome. Terrific.
That totally works. Thank you. All right. I'm going to hand it over to you, Aisha. And over to you.
Now?
Yeah, I think, yeah, now. Sorry. I think,
All right.
yeah, sorry about that.
All right. I missed what you said. Can you please repeat yourself?
Yeah, we said, well, I hope you heard, did you hear everyone applauding
Yes,
you?
heard
Okay, good.
Hollering.
That's really good. And I just want to say over to you to give some remarks to all of us, and then we'll take questions. So everyone, please put your questions in the box, and Aisha, over to you.
All right. I've prepared some remarks, so now I'm going to read them. When I first received notice I'd won this award, I laughed. I laughed because I thought Kitty Knox would laugh, a young Black woman from Massachusetts who was an absolute thorn in the side of what was then known as the League of American Whalemen. I laughed because in 1894, the year after Katie J. Knox joined the League, they instituted a color ban stating that none but white persons could become members of the League. I laughed because when Kitty showed up to their national meeting in 1895, they tried to turn her away because she was in the wrong house. In fact, they'd gone out of their way to make it more challenging for non-white folks to access the meeting. But Kitty took a train, a boat, and a bike to get there anyway. I laughed because although the color bar was no longer deliberately enforced, it wasn't officially removed until 1999, during my lifetime, 105 years after it was instituted. I laughed because I thought Kitty Knox would find it amusing that the same league that worked so hard to keep her and folks like her out are now recognizing her for the powerful positive force that she always was. So here I am now in 2020 with an award with both mine and Kitty Knox's names on it. I'm going to show it to you because it's pretty cute. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that it's an honor that I could even be considered in the same breath as Kitty Knox. But I also know I can't accept this award with a simple thank you. That would be a disservice to the award's namesake. I didn't start this race. I'm just carrying the baton for my leg of the relay. I understand that the League of American Cyclists is not what it was in 1894, but they can do more. Take a cue from Kitty and be bold. Otherwise, this award becomes yet another display of understanding there's a problem without taking action to fix it. For Kitty, I want to light a fire under all of you and remind you that despite notable progress over the last century, I don't think Kitty Knox would be even remotely satisfied with the current state of representation and inclusivity in cycling, and neither am I. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Aisha, and thank you for being the first recipient of this. And we appreciate everything you're doing and everything we need to do to make it better. I think we have some questions. Allison, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Thanks. Congratulations, Aisha.
Thank you.
Okay, so our first question refers to something in your blog, and it said, in your blog, you said that your current deal, where you are a pro cyclist but not officially on a traditional road team, will allow you to continue doing your advocacy. Can you talk more about that and what would being officially on a team mean for your advocacy?
It's complicated in a lot of ways, and this current COVID-19 quarantine situation has made it even more complicated. But essentially, I had a couple of instances over my journey in which I realized that there were people that weren't going to be very happy with the things that I have to say, and that giving that autonomy away and giving that power away is not something that I'm willing to do. And the thing with the traditional team is that you are beholden to sponsors, and it's not just you as an individual, but there's a team of people. So I am a liability at that point. If I speak out, if I am um, vocal about the things that matter to me, which unfortunately don't matter to everyone. And so that's not something that I was willing to sacrifice. And so a traditional team in that sense just would not work for me at this time. I don't know that there is a team that, especially right now, like consider the fact that cuts are being made, money is not being made. And so, when you're on the chopping block like that, the first thing to go is going to be the thing that's causing trouble. And I have a tendency to cause trouble. This way I can, speak truth to power the way I need to and not worry so much about having as many people have to worry about that and putting, teammates in a position where they have to worry about that as well.
Mm-hmm. Great. So here's another a chance for you to speak out on companies that are doing good things for equity, diversity, and inclusion. Are there examples of brands inside or outside the cycling industry that are doing well on that front, or others that that we as cycling advocates or in the bike industry should look for inspiration?
I think there are a number of companies that are trying harder now, that are making an effort and are trying to figure out what doing well looks like. I don't know that there's anybody that's particularly nailing it yet. But the one example that I usually give of a company that inspires me the most, I guess, is Machines for Freedom. They're a women-owned company, and to my knowledge, they're not necessarily women of color, but they have done a really good job of making deliberate efforts of being inclusive and representative, not just in regards to race, but in regards to gender and size and however other many, differences people can have. And they do a really good job of listening to people when they make recommendations or say, oh, we don't like that, or whatever it is. I've noticed that they do a really good job of taking in feedback and then responding to it, and not just, apologizing and moving on about their day. And I think that's really important. So yeah, Machines for Freedom is a pretty good example of somebody that's someone to look at, I think.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna look at them.
There you go.
Okay, here's another question for advocacy. How do you measure the effectiveness of advocacy? For example, events such as critical mass or other anti-motor vehicle activities could, in some ways, do more harm than good, yet there is no way to measure the success of advocacy. So how do you measure the success of advocacy?
Well, with the anti-car agenda, I don't know that I do too much measuring of that. But as far as representation and inclusion of people of color, I think a simple measure is just, what you see and how people are represented. And from when I started this journey 5 years ago and to now, you see a lot more representation. I don't think it's there yet. I'm very critical, clearly, but I feel like I know so many people of color personally that ride bikes, and then there's just so many that I don't know, but I've seen that ride bikes and spend money on bikes and get excited about bikes and are, commuters and recreational riders and, run the gamut of how they experience bikes, but that is not, represented, and that is not shown and taken into account. And so I see that as a measure of things. And even just going to events and you know, if I run into people of color that I don't know, then that's a sign that things are getting better. But there's not, there's not really a lot of studies and a lot of statistics that are available to us within the industry. And I think that in itself is a problem, because it becomes a crutch almost, where it's like, well, there's no data to support it. And so there's no, launch point for people to do anything more, because the statistics and the science isn't there. And so that becomes an excuse. So basically, it's what I can see, what I experience as a person, and what I can gather from other people that I've spoken to. But as far as actual statistics, there's not a whole lot out there. So if you're in a position to do that kind of polling and create that kind of data, that's something I really wish existed, and I think would be really helpful for everyone.
Yeah. What ways have you been finding joy on the bike lately, with so many things unavailable right now? Biking is so available, and what ways are you finding joy on the bike?
I'm assuming we're talking in a non-quarantine scenario, in which case I find joy in community. I find joy in riding bikes outdoors with other people. And I actually went to an event recently, the Selma ride. It was the 55th anniversary of the Selma walk from Selma to Montgomery. And I had a great time. It's one of very few events that I've attended that were predominantly people of color, and it felt like everyone was themselves and just joyous and exuberant, and it was just a lovely, wonderful, heartwarming, like reinvigorating experience. And so I just wish that could be an experience that more people had. But that's, I find joy in community, basically, is the answer.
And what race are you most looking forward to when it's safe to return to the sport of cycling?
Hey, I've been trying to shut down that part of my brain because it's so hard to process that this season is pretty much a wash at this point. I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking forward to any races this year at this point, if I'm being honest.
I know it's hard to look forward to something when everything's so up in the air.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. How many questions do I get to ask?
Go do another. Go for it. You're
Okay.
good.
Let's see. So there's a lot of comments just praising your efforts and advocacy, and you being relaying the message that you relay about equity and diversity and inclusion in the sport of cycling. So people are saying, thanks for being the powerhouse that you are. You so deserve this award. Thank you so much. The trouble that you are bringing is good trouble. It's not trouble.
I think so.
It's changing us all for the better. And oh yeah, so someone else talks about the good trouble. Well, John Lewis calls it good trouble. And let's see, who else in the biking community would you like to call out as causing good trouble?
Bike community is huge. That's really hard. I think first name that popped into my head just now is Courtney Williams. I think she's doing a great job. The Brown Bike Girl. I think she's causing lots of good trouble, and especially in regards to making sure that people of color are represented in these conversations. I don't really get to do as much work on the bike advocacy level anymore with racing and everything, but she's really, boots on the ground, getting things done in New York City and kind of all around. So Courtney Williams is my answer.
Cool. I think she's on listening. So good shout out to Courtney. And Vivian, Vivian Ortiz seconds here. Your call out for Courtney.
Also now the New York City bike mayor, which is really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I saw that. Okay, so I think that's about it for questions, unless you had any other questions, Bill.
No, that was it. I really love how much people are using this to give shout outs. I wish you could see all of them. Thanks for writing. Are you, I would have to ask, are you not doing any solo writing right now, Aisha?
I think I'm getting to the point where I'm gonna crack and go outside soon.
Okay, yeah,
But
yeah,
when it first started, it was like I noticed a like huge uptick in other people writing, which was awesome, but not when you're
yeah,
trying to stay away from other people.
yeah.
And so maybe I'll just have to get out super early and
Well, be safe and keep writing, and thanks for writing together with all of us. And we'll look forward to seeing you again and maybe featuring another article. I have to call out, like, your article in the League magazine, which was so great and inspiring. And so hopefully we can have you back at the National Bike Summit in person next time, and continue to have your voice in this movement. So thanks so much.
thank you.
So next up is the Suzy Stevens Joyful Enthusiasm Award. So this award commemorates another giant in the biking and walking movement. Suzy Stevens was one of the founders of the Alliance for Biking and Walking, and continues as an enduring inspiration for the members of the bicycling and walking advocacy movement. The honor goes to an individual or group who carries on Suzy's passion for advocating for bicycling as a fun and economical means of transportation. We celebrate Suzy's contribution to this incredible work and her legacy through the people that inspire us to do more today and look forward to a better future. Our 2020 award goes to Gina Simpson. Gina has been a force for biking in Cleveland, Tennessee, and has been a leader with Bike Walk Cleveland since 2017, when it was founded. Gina and her husband Jake have 3 children, Isaac, Abigail, and Indiana. When they moved to Cleveland, Tennessee in 2016, they were excited to experience all the things their new city had to offer, and so took to exploring around town by foot and by bike. Like so many dedicated advocates, Gina became a league cycling instructor to share her love of biking with others. She's also a League Life member. I have to give a plug for that. That's so awesome. Thank you for being a Life member. And as an LCI, Gina is helping educate students in Bike Walk Cleveland's successful Bike to Schools program, which reached more than 3,000 kids last year. With the support of the Jeff Roth Cycling Foundation, she has been able to launch a summer pop-up cycling program, a summer maintenance camp for families to encourage cycling for the whole community. And I have to say, like, her nominations included so many tributes to her tireless work to advocate for commuter cycling routes, education, and community outreach. Through her efforts, this is a quote, through her efforts, more families than ever are riding through neighborhoods and on the Greenway in Cleveland, Tennessee. So Gina, with that, thank you so much, and congratulations on receiving this award. I'm going to open up the mics again so you can be properly thanked, and you can hear everybody's applause. Let me just get that on here for a second. Here we go. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
good job. Congratulations, Gina. All right. Thanks for your work.
Great work.
Excellent. So Gina, with that, I've unmuted you, I think. So over to you, please. The mic is yours. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm so excited to receive this award. And when I got my email telling me that I had won this, my husband was like, that is just perfect. He said, that fits you to a T. And I thought it was kind of appropriate that one day he likes to tell people this story, like, you can't miss our house in Cleveland. If you're ever driving through, everyone knows our house because I have a bicycle at the driveway up at our mailbox, and then as you get further onto our property, you just see more and more bikes. He said, you know how like every neighborhood has that like crazy cat lady with 1 million cats? Gina's the crazy bike lady. Like, people come to us to get bikes. I have been trying for years to like give bikes away, and it seems like everyone that I give a bike to, they'll bring me 2 or 3 back. So I always have bikes to give people, and it's been great to see how how many kids and families have just been coming out to ride with us. We do rides to the library, we ride all over town. And so, I mean, now I've gotten to the point where like drivers will honk and we just wave and we just assume they're being nice and happy. They're glad to see us out there. And then I'll get texts like, we saw you at the post office. And I'm like, guess what? I know I'm at the post office, but it's great to see you. So I'm very excited and very thankful to the league for this award. And so I'll hold it up here so everybody can see. Isn't that awesome? I'm looking forward to hanging that up and adding to my bike artwork collection. So thank you guys.
Thank you. And I think we have some questions.
All right.
Yes. Congratulations, Gina.
Thanks.
And thanks for being a life member. Okay, so let's see. We've got a bunch for you as well. If you could take urban bike advocates on a tour of the needs for better biking in your community, Cleveland, Tennessee, what are the main differences that they would see?
Okay, so we actually are very excited because this year, September 24th and 25th, we are having the Tennessee State Bike Walk Summit in Cleveland, Tennessee, and we're going to be taking advocates on those routes. And so I want to show them how we do have some bike lanes, we do have a multi-use path, but one of the biggest differences, I think, is we have neighborhood streets that are more sprawling than you have. So, you know, we have the back roads and stuff that's not necessarily a dedicated bike route, but they're, you know, how do you ride on these back roads to get further distances? And how do you do it safely? I think that's one of the differences. You know, you don't necessarily need infrastructure in place, but you might need signage. You know, it's one of the things that I've been working with here with our city is getting some more signage. So, you know, visitors and people who even are local who might not know all of the twists and turns to get in your 50-mile ride, you know, let's get the paint or the signs out there so that you're confident in exploring those back roads, but you're not going to get lost, because in Tennessee, let's face it, sometimes you make a turn and you hit a pond. You just don't know where you're going to end up. So if we have that signage out there, it's going to really help people to have more confidence just to get out and know that they're not going to get lost, but they're going to see some great sights and be able to enjoy our countryside. Oh, I can't hear you, Allison.
Sorry, there we go. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so you are such a powerhouse for bike advocacy in Tennessee. Congratulations. What have you learned about recruiting and maintaining volunteers?
So I've learned that lots of people are going to say they volunteer, but that lots of people aren't going to show up when you need them. So I have my list of, like, I don't just take email addresses and Facebook comments anymore. I'm like, I get phone numbers, I get addresses, I show up and it's like, hey, I need your help to come out. And I found that for volunteers, if you give them something specific, then they're going to help. If you just say, hey, I need volunteers to help with an event, you're not going to get many. But if you say, hey, I need someone who can meet me at the park for 2 hours this time frame to help hand out bicycle helmets, then I'll get people who say, I can do that. So having something very specific that you're asking for and having a time frame in mind. So if you can give those people those two things, you're going to get more volunteers. And then if you have people who say, you know, I'm really passionate, so we're Bike Walk Cleveland, so we do walking and biking. So I have some people who are more passionate about walking and more people who are passionate about cycling. So I try to make sure that I have those people split out. So when I need a bike event, I'm like, hey, I need help with a children's bike workshop. I call on my specific bike people and say, hey, can you come and help? And then if I'm doing a walking event, I call in the walking volunteers. So labeling your volunteers, there's plenty of, you know, ways that you can do that, and having specific goals for them are two ways to make sure that they get involved.
That is good advice. Thanks. Another comment, you are definitely an inspiration in the bike advocacy world. Thank you for all you've done. What would you say are the key steps to getting bike education into schools?
All right, so key steps. One is find out how your school system does physical education or wellness education. So in our community in Tennessee, we have a healthy school committee team. So I reached out to that team, and there are coordinators for the county and the city schools. Educate them on the importance of cycling, and then they can help you get into those schools. Once you get there, then you get into the PE departments. I found that most PE teachers are very, very willing. If you say, hey, can I come in for a week and just take over your class and you just kind of help me? They're more than happy to hand it over to you and say, sure, bring bikes and come in and I'll shove kids at you all day long. So, you know, have a plan for what you want to teach. I use a modified league curriculum. So right now we just do kids on bikes to schools, where I just take kids and get them on bikes. I mean, these are elementary kids mostly. So, I mean, we're doing like kick, glide, just getting a kid on a bike and teaching them how to balance, and they ride down the parking lot, then they ride the bike back and give it to the next kid. But they get so excited about it, and that excitement spreads. So then they tell their older brother or sister, and then I get a call from a middle school PE teacher and says, hey, yeah, we've got students asking for bikes to schools. Can you bring them to the middle school? And so then, you know, you get a few, and it's a domino effect, because kids love bikes. And lots of kids, I found, you know, they've not had experience with bikes. And so getting them to their schools and letting them actually get on it, they get excited. And they tell their parents and they tell their siblings. And it just helps to bring that out in the community. I ride my bike everywhere in town, but it's great now because I was at the library one day and before all the COVID, and I had a kid like grab his mom and like, that lady is the one that came to school and gave us bikes and taught us about bikes. Like, can we go talk to her? And so it's, you know, get to those educators and get to the kids, and it just kind of spirals. Be ready to recruit those volunteers, because once you get that core group, it's going to just keep going and growing on you, and hopefully it'll spread, you know, outside of your reach. And I want you guys to take it to the rest of the nation. So
That's great. I love the idea of it just spiraling. You put in the work and then it just goes on its own. Let's see. So what ways have you been finding joy in the bike lately? Have you been riding through the pandemic?
We've been riding all over the place, and actually I was telling Bill, and you can't tell, but I actually have a broken shoulder right now because I was on a ride with a friend of mine who was a new cyclist, and I had just told her we have to watch out for this dog that comes out. Everybody knows that dog on the group rides that you warn everybody to watch out for. Well, this one just so happened to already be out by the time we got there, and it took my bike out from under me. So I'm unfortunately not riding right now, but I'm doing a lot of walking, and I'm taking my kids out. They're on their bikes, and so I give them the you go this far and then circle around and get me. So I'm walking and they're riding. So I still get to live vicariously through other riders.
So that is a great segue to another question we had is, I guess the whole dog encounter thing is synonymous with kind of, you know, a more rural area. But what do you do when you are riding and you encounter a dog? I mean, what were you telling your new rider who you're with to do? And what
So this, you know, this, you kind of get to know like the spots where there are dogs. You get to know the ones like those ones are invisible fencing, they're okay, but this one's going to come out in the road. And I had actually just told her, I'm like, unfortunately, this one, it's like right over a hill. There's a bad ditch on one side and it's in a curve, so you can't tell if there are cars. So I said, you know, we're going to go slow over this hill. Hopefully the dog's not out, but if it is, you have to hit it because you don't want to go off the road and you don't want to get hit by a car. So it's one of those, you just have to do the best you can. And in this case, the best I could do was hit the dog and go down, because you never want to put yourself in the path of an oncoming car. You never want to go off a steep cliff. And, obviously you want to try to avoid a dog, but yelling at the dog, telling it to go back, there's spray, there's whistles. Unfortunately, none of those in this case worked. And, sometimes you just do crash. And when you do, just do the best you can. So that's one of those, usually, I've ridden this route probably 30, 40 times. And every other time the dog has come to the road and stopped. This time the dog just happened to be in the road. And it's one of those things, as a cyclist, you're just going to encounter things that you can't control. But, few weeks and I'll be back out there. Always, as I tell people, always wear a helmet. Always, because you never know when these kind of situations, I consider myself a good rider, and I always wear a helmet. This was one of those cases where a situation happened that I couldn't control and I went down. And I'm glad I had my helmet on. So just like seatbelts in a car, you never know. You can't put it on after you wreck. You can't put your helmet on after you wreck. So keep them on.
That's for sure. The perils of riding in different environments. Lots of joys too. Other different things to look out for. This is another question. When you think about the future, what does better biking look like for your kids and your community?
So for me, I always tell people, I want to turn back the clock. We had those stories from our grandparents and parents about how they had to ride their bikes in the snow to school both ways uphill. I want us to get back to those times where we have children experiencing the freedom that a bike gives, that responsibility to be able to get yourself to school. And I want to see them developing, I always tell people, I don't want my kids' first experience with the road to be behind the wheel of a 2-ton vehicle that can go 70 miles an hour. I want them to all learn the rules of the road on something that they can control. So if we get more kids out riding, I really believe we're going to have more responsible drivers in the future, because if we can get these kids out riding, then they're going to have that experience, not only the rules of the road so they know what to do, but they're going to have that experience of being that vulnerable user, so that when they become a driver of a vehicle, they're going to be aware. They're going to say, oh, look, there's kids riding a bike. I'm going to slow down and let them have the road because they were that kid. So I think that this is something that I really want to see, and we've started to see that here in the community. Especially this COVID has been wonderful because we've seen families out riding together. And the nice thing, again, about being in our area is we got lots of space. So I can see a family up a block ahead of me, and I'll say, okay, guys, we're just going to turn right here and let them have their side of the road, and we're going to go this way. And, seeing parents out educating their children and riding together and just building those bonds of community that you get when you know where you are because you've been there, instead of just being in the back of a car, on a phone. So I think I want to see that turn back to where we know where we are in the community, we know who we're seeing, and just building community on bikes. So.
Yeah, and this question relates to what you just said and what Aisha mentioned about seeing a lot more people on bikes during this quarantine time. What are your thoughts about how we can reach out to folks, those people biking for the first time? If we see them and what's a way the advocacy world can connect to those people and help educate on the correct and safest ways of biking?
So one thing that we do with Bike Walk Cleveland, and I do this all the time when I'm out with my kids and my husband around town, is I keep my business cards and my Bike Walk Cleveland stickers on my bike. And so now during social distancing, I'm like, hey, I'm glad to see you out. I'm going to leave something for you. And I set it down. And on there, I have a QR code to our website. Well, our Facebook page mostly. And I share league videos, the league safety videos. I'm like, hey, I'd love for you to get on. And we just shared a really nice video about, how to use how to share a multi-use path. I post videos on ABC quick checks and helmets and all sorts of things on our Facebook page all the time. So when you're out in public and you see someone, you can just give them a wave and say, hey, I'd love for you to check out our Facebook page. And it's really a good way to educate without having to be in close contact. I always, too, when we can, I share with people, hey, we're having a Smart Cycle class coming up, it used to be, once a month. Hey, I'd love to see you at our Smart Cycle class. And I also go to communities, homeowners associations, and say, hey, I'd love to come into your neighborhood and I do bikes for kids classes, and I'm like, and I do, grown-ups. Usually if I get the kids class, it's like, hey, do you want your parents to do this stuff with you? And they're like, yeah. So you get the parents and really, it is, again, like the school systems. Once you get a couple, hey, we went to the Blythe Oldfield neighborhood and did their thing. It's like, well, we want to have them in our neighborhood. So they come to you.
Yeah, great. It is a joy to see so many new people out on bikes and families going together. So that's about all the questions we have for Gina. Thank you so much. And I wanted to also plug that your LCI status. You are an LCI, so thank you for
Yes.
being an LCI. It's probably evident on your comments, but just wanted to give a shout out
Yes.
to.
Everybody should go, and you should contact the Jeff Ross Cycling Foundation. I'm going to put their plug in there too, because they have a certification class in Tennessee every year that I've been helping with. So you can come and get certified if you're not already. We'd love to have more of you in our group.
You said the Jeff Ross Cycling Foundation?
Jeff Ross Cycling Foundation, yep.
They are great.
Yes, they're big here in Tennessee, so.
Good plug.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much, Gina, and congratulations again. And thanks to everybody who participated. We got some really great comments and praise and thanks for you and for Aisha again. Thanks. So I'm just gonna just thank everyone for participating again. Thank our award winners for being here and for all the work that they're doing. I just want to say give a plug for keeping this going. We are going to be doing these on Thursdays around the same time. Just one last round of applause. Hopefully we'll see you all again. I'm going to open up the mics so we can do this one more time. And yeah, thanks again to everybody for participating. And I am unmuting. Yeah. So thank you.
You guys inspire. Yeah.
Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, ladies. Oh, Alicia.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, the mics are open. Bye, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you. See you next week.
Thanks, y'all.
See ya. Thank you all. Big thanks to the award winners again. We'll see you around.
Bye, Gina.
Guess I'm gonna go have dinner now.